do you want to talk a little bit about the Visibility That Sells Accelerator then?
Yeah, actually, I was wanting to touch on that.
The way we've come across each other was really through my work, and Amanda did one of those marketing blueprint by designs, which are now called Aligned to Be Seen Experience, coincidentally. And then, we started working, and we worked for over a year together inside the Visibility That Sells Accelerator, which is the online visibility mentorship. And within the scope of what we did, there was two projects. We really looked at the Visibility Castle as the
Mm-hmm.
website and the positioning, of Amanda, how she comes across online, but also then this pivoted into the book writing. And this was a real book writing. And my ex-husband, Jim, was the editor of the book, which was very kind of good collaboration to have as well. And now the book is out. We can look back at the actual work that we did together. So we're dealing
Mm-hmm.
here with the 5-1, as I already mentioned, 5-1 generator energy, the energy of the generator focusing within, and then with the 5-1 profile, again, making it about you, your story, your unique vision, what you see, and then with the fifth line leadership and being able to bring the solutions that are practical and timely. For me, reading this book was very, very satisfying for me as a guide, because, this kind of synthesized the whole work that we did together. But what I would love to hear from you, Amanda, is your feedback on this last year and what we've done together. Not Juliette, great feedback, but what did
Yeah.
it do for you?
Wow. It has been a really amazing, phenomenal journey, to the least for me. Well, just kind of rewinding back to even how I got to you. I was in the couple of years in that quest of understanding. I've been, you know, uh, acquainted with human design in 2018, about thereabouts, but only kind of deep dive into it during the pandemic. And I realized when I read through different things, had a couple of other consultations and here and there, I was really kind of struggling with this element of the marketing aspect, because that's, to me, was one of the weaknesses that I think I have. Um, and I took a lot of sales and marketing, workshop courses, and it just didn't align with what I felt and how it can be authentic, or rather inauthentic, for me. And I was just looking around, scouting the internet, and found your article, and I think that's one of the most popular articles about the 5-1 projection field. And that was the thing that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like, exactly what I experienced, or you were just highlighting it from that perspective, and in the way of, like, showing up in the world and in the visibility element. And at that time, I was deliberately invisible because I needed that cocooning time for myself to just, recalibrate many areas of my life. And that's where I kind of jumped on that call with you for your first with the first call we had, and then I decided on that whole journey together. And I think what was really important for me was that very initial, I think the first few calls of for you to kind of give me the permission to delayer all of these projections. I was like, oh, this projection, that projection, this and that, and to even understand how to work the projection field in a way that I don't have to be fearful about it, but just to reframe it and actually leverage on that in a positive, empowering way. And I think that was a lot of mindset shift for myself first, in order to feel confident and to really own that 5-1 energy that I have been, because of not being aware, living in some of the shadow aspects of the 5-1 generator. And I was running into, while experiencing burnout at some point, because I was doing things that didn't light me up, right? Or it did at some point, but then I continued on when I reached a plateau, and it just didn't make sense for me over time. So I just needed some clarity around the processes, the places, the place that I was in, and what I would like to move on, moving forward. And that's where I think you really did help, like, create this structure of, okay, let's work on the website, let's work on this, let's work on that. And like, And I was in a point of time that, yes, I'm very on the ball with action. And like I have done so many different varieties of things, and I just need a sure way, sure win kind of situation for me. Like, and I think for me, um, in the context of astrological elements, I have, done quite deep, well, the line one, the line one thing of going to different astrological aspects of like feng shui, right? Astrology from the Chinese perspective to the Mayan astrology and to the Vedic astrology and human design. And I put everything together. And I mean, they all speak of same way, different language.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the human design that was the most practical for me to kind of apply very immediately or understand. I think it helps me to understand why certain things happen, didn't happen, why does that happen, and why all of these whys. And at the same time, it gives this solution based on the strategy and authority. So knowing that it was my first experiment, right, to just decide on even things like what should I eat today. And I realized even simple things of what should I eat, that's the wrong question. Is do I want this or this? That's a generator thing that I realized that I can't have open-ended questions. Yeah. So it was something that I've learned in my way in my own human design learning journey. And when I work with you, it's very easy, in terms of the element of, okay, because you would give me an option. Does this feel good for me? Right. And I think you were already kind of eliciting all of these like responses from me, whether it feels good or not, to be able to discern the next step, for us and in what's best for me. Because you can always suggest so many things, but at the end of the day, I have to feel confident and great about it. And I think you gave that space for that to exploration, but also in that sense of like steady head, steadfast, like chop chop, let's get it, let's go do it, because I think that's where we tend to trip up, well, at least for me, in like decisions like I'm not so sure because of the fear of the projection, right? So I felt really comfortable and confident because you had the vote of confidence that don't worry about the projections, you just go, because we are now in the right strategy. So I really appreciated the whole process, and I think every session with you, and it's just like a light bulb, moment of like positivity and giving me that courage to just do something. And it's something different that I'm doing with myself, for myself. And like I never had what I call marketing mentor in my life, and this has been the first, and it's amazing. And how I have slowly built this what you say, the castle of visibility. And I think I'm going through that in a very steady, stable, comfortable way. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And for a generator, if you're a generator type, fast is not your word. I mean, I'm not talking about manifesting generators. If you're a generator, you are here to do slow and steady. Imagine a whale or an elephant, a big, big animal, but it has the stamina to cover so much. It feels like it's a slow animal, but it's not, because it has the stamina. And so slow and steady is the way. And when we're talking about building a castle, obviously, we worked for 12 months, maybe a little bit over 12 months on the visibility, but the castle is a lifetime journey. Like I have a visibility castle, but it's still being built. Every time I write something, it's a brick, right? Every time you do an interview, it's an embellishment somewhere. There's always work. And then it's like at home, we want to change things. We want to change our environment. We want to change the interior design. And it's a kind of ongoing process. And I think it's really important to just allow this work to be happening, because this is what marketing is. When you see it as building your castle, and not like, I feel like when we say promote myself, I need to put myself out there, it's very unsafe. how it feels, and that can, especially with the fifth line mind, the paranoia, underlying paranoia is sort of like, what's going to happen if, what else will they want from me, or what other projections will be? Because there's a lot of drama when you don't understand what is actually happening. And I think the projection field, I don't have the fifth line in my profile. I do have it in my notes, actually, which I think maybe that's why I understand, I understand what it might feel like, or, that there is these mechanics. For me, it's become so interesting, and I really enjoyed guiding you. But also I have to say that within our work, you're one of the people who you've taken so much action. Every time, every month that we meet, you felt slow. There were life interfering. There were so many things that were interfering as you felt. And yet, despite of all that, overall, you have done so much. You've written a book. You have revamped your website. You have revamped your funnels, as in you have the clarity now how you want to work with people that suits you, that feels good to you. So you're not going to sabotage this or question this, because that's now you just have to integrate this. And this is what I really love about this process, because it's like building these foundations, but it's a clarity and some kind of, certainty, I think, maybe inside that, okay, I have my now structure. Now I can think about the interior design, now I can, see things how they are. And then you kind of blossom within this.
I'm so thankful for that process, because it's only in my later part of my adult life that I appreciate structures, because I've always been go with the flow, like take everything as it is. And I think that's why then I approached that burnout, right? And suffered the projection fields, because I didn't quite have my own structures internally to kind of know what's okay, not okay. And that's the people-pleasing trait that happen as a projection field comes bigger. So now I get it, right? And having all of these reinforcements does help with just making life easier, right? At the end of the day, with life, because I think the way of thinking as I have approached in this time we work together has also translated to just life. Right. In understanding what I can be in conversations or not, in terms of understanding the profile lines and how it can look like, sound like, and all of that. It informs different places in life. And that is something that I see the value in that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I recently heard Richard Rudd saying that even if we don't know any of the gates or anything, but we just follow our lines and the storyline behind our lines, we will actually get that, well, let's call it alignment in the vibe of this whole conversation. And I really, this is what I love, because your business, especially a business like yours or mine, this is an extension of who you are. This is not a separate thing. This is not just even when people have a brick and mortar business, it's still an extension of who they are. And with this, when you're reaching out, when you're sharing through content, especially such personal content like your book, it's such a book about your personal journey, but it's so deep and helpful. And it does then leak. Let's call it leak, because you don't expect that it's going to. But it leaks everywhere. So with the journey of your business, as you establish your business and you find your ways, you also learn to set boundaries. You also learn to respect yourself more. You learn not to people please. You learn who your people are eventually, not straight away. You never know who your ideal client is until you really been around people for a while within this context. You allow yourself to be the way you are, and that it's okay to be the way you are. I think this is all, the online visibility mentorship is not just about how your website looks, right? It's all those other things, because when that is aligned, then you can show up. And you should be showing up while you're aligning. This is really important, that there's no destination that you're ready. And, I can say, like, somebody jokingly called me the queen of visibility back in, 2018. And I took it and I owned it as my brand. And, but the truth is that I am always insecure. because this is part of my shadows, with my, personality and my human design. And this insecurity, everybody experiences it. You always feel like, oh, what if I'm not saying the right thing? What if I'm not, the right person? What if I'm talking too fast? What if I am ugly? What if I am, and these what ifs, this foundation, but it all, we have all designs. We have certain designs that are we broadcasting that are set, but fixed, but we also have everything. We experience everything. And that insecurity, that first line insecurity, we all have, and yet despite of that, we can show up and we can build the castles and we can do things. And despite of constant confusion, despite of not, doubting yourself all the time, those are my design, big shadows, but we all have them. Don't wait until you're ready, because that's never going to happen, because you're going to have these shadows always. They're just going to be there. But it's okay. We learn to live with them. It's not about actually overcoming them, because you can't. They're going to be there. It's a frequency. And I think 12 months, sometimes, and I find that, Amanda, I would say that you're an action taker. There another person would not make as much progress in 12 months. And that's also okay, because the divine timing is different for everyone. And influences and just processing, like I know I'm really slow, things like I'm 10 years now in business, and it took a long time before the business became consistent and I found myself, and I think it's always still evolution, and it's such a beautiful journey. So I want to thank you for being with me for these 12 months and actually taking so much action, even though you didn't feel it at the time.
It's been a pleasure, and it's always really exciting for me, because it's like this little, for me, it's like a little nuggets of like mini achievements each time that I meet with you, and the next thing that I will do, and I will kind of like go through with what I've done, and the processes. It's exciting, and I think also because I'm in that readiness, I'm in that element of like, okay, I really need this new way of doing things, and I've hit a plateau, a big plateau, over the whole pandemic, right? So it has taken me 5 years to kind of really find my footing, just to integrate my last 20-ish years worth of everything coming through. And I think I know that I deserve that slowness. It seems too slow for people, but I don't care. So I think that's something that I have come to learn, this whole thing about learning the projection field is always going to be there, but it's just kind of building up your baseline resilience of like, it's not my problem. It's not me.
It's true. But, to integrate 20 years of life.
Oh, it's
let's
huge.
Just think
it's
about
huge,
it.
Yeah.
How far? Yeah, it's huge. How can you do it in like 3 months? How can you do it in 90 days? There's a myth, especially with the online visibility, getting clients, establishing your business. There's a big myth or many myths about how long it takes. And I love this expression. I don't know, maybe it's a quote and somebody said it initially, but we always underestimate what we can do in the long term, and we overestimate what we will do in the short term. And in the short term, and then we get disappointed, like in 12 months, oh, not that much progress. I'm not like the most, I don't have a 7-figure business, and that person there on Instagram said that they do, and I haven't, I'm a failure. But it's a lie. It's an illusion that's created by this world, and it's not slow. 3, 4, 5 years, to establish a business, it takes a long time. And the trajectory is really the first few years, you're literally flatlining. You might have like a little spike, you might have a launch, then you sabotage yourself. You usually do it to yourself, and by the time it becomes, then it can like a hockey stick kind of, it goes up because you figured things out, and now you can commit to yourself because you have the evidence within yourself. But it does take a long time, and I think that this is really important because when you think about where you've been 5 years ago and where you are now, it doesn't matter. It's not even about the financial security that is, and it's great when that also aligned. But it's not about it. But when you're talking about how much has changed, how much you've integrated, how much freedom are you gaining by just thinking a certain way, I think that this is huge. And this is, as I joke that I'm a slow person. I am slow because I didn't build my business in 90 days, and it's fine. And it takes so long to process because we are both one line, first line. But it's not just the first line who processes slow. And it's not only manifesting generators who act fast. They act fast, but they make a lot of mistakes and skip a lot of very important foundational steps. So nobody's perfect. There is no type
That's
or
true.
a profile that is successful and the rest just kind of pulled the short straw. It just doesn't happen. And we are all in the same boat. This is what I love. And I think that what you said as well about human design is a practical tool. There is a lot of modalities, and they all brought by, into the world by some humans, so that used specific words and maybe different modalities. I love Batsia astrology as well. It can give you some other wording that will make sense. It never contradicts each other, but it gives you these, other ways to look at things, sometimes more philosophical and, you need to contemplate and live with it and sit with it. And sometimes it's super practical. And that's why human design is really, I feel, such a compass. It's not, you don't need to go and learn it. That's the most important thing. I always say you don't actually need, because even if you just stopped asking yourself open-ended questions as a generator, right? And just kind of focused on one thing at a time and seeing if it's a yes or no response to it, that's already huge, because it's going to change how you are operating in your life, and a lot of other things can adjust. And then the profile lines, this is about the brand, and the brand is not just a marketing thing. It's who you are, who you think you are, and how you feel like you're interacting with the world, and then how the world sees you and how they see you interacting with the world. And a conflict can happen. So it's really, I think it's safe and good to just know the mechanics, because even in the situation where there's a conflict, it could be your client, we all complain. I remember I was saying, I'm a magnet to nightmare clients, because I didn't understand the dynamics. I didn't understand the mechanics, what's going on within this interaction. And also, how am I showing up, even if I don't know their design, because obviously most of the time we don't know, but what can I control? I can control the perception of, or my understanding of my design, and then either lean more into this or hold back some other things that I know are causing friction. And, especially with the fifth line, for example, the third line making mistake, the fifth lines with, the projections trying to be perfect always, and not wanting to be vulnerable. And, there's so many interesting things, and that's what the strategy is. And that's why I think that this process is so enjoyable as well.
Wonderful insights. Wonderful insights.
Yes, thank you so much. And
thank you.
Guys, if you need guidance, and, I'm here. I'm not the only one in the world who guides, obviously, but I really, really would, if you feel like, if you watch this, for example, interview, and you felt like this is what I want, where to find me, reach out, and we can see how I can guide you. Invite me to guide you, as they say, for the projector. Amanda, thank you so much.
Thank you.